Why is it so hard to actually say what I feel?
Just keep it together.
Don't be too much.
Somewhere along the way, you learned to hold it in, to soften your truth, to shape your voice, to be easier to love. But your body knows, your voice knows, and there's a place inside you where nothing is forced, where everything real gets to exist. This is that place. Welcome to G-Spot. Hi, my loves. You are listening to G-Spot Podcast, and I am so glad you're here. My name is Graciela Serena, and I am your host. Today, we're going to talk about a topic. I know I said this about nervous system, but this is also one of my favorite topics because it's a part that is so necessary, yet so shadowy and so sneaky. Today, we're going to be talking about the ego. I love talking about the ego because there's so many intricacies to it. And today, that's what we're going to get into. So, I'm going to paint a picture for you. We have the wounded ego. There is defensiveness. There is always needing to be right. There is no signs of vulnerability, or it's very, very hard to be vulnerable. There's not wanting to try new things. And there's stories. There's a lot of stories that get created to stop us from doing certain things, or we'll get more into that in a little bit. But we have the wounded ego, and then we have the healed ego. Or healing, when are we ever fully healed? Wouldn't that be nice? But also a little boring, huh? So the healing ego is very grounded, open, self-aware, secure enough to grow. And I would say also the healing ego is a better listener. It's not always wanting to be the one to talk. The healing ego wants to listen and learn and grow. So let's talk about what the ego is real quick. The ego has a lot to do with the concept of identity. It's a part of you, right? Just like it's one of your protectors. It's also one of your allies. And ultimately, it is trying to help you the best way that it can. It's your concept of identity. And the ego has a lot to do with control. Let's go into that a little bit. The concept of identity, it's who you believe you are, who you have shaped yourself to be. The ego holds on to that. So stories, all those things, the ego makes a lot of those to confirm the identity, to confirm who we are to ourselves and others. And because it has to do a lot with control, it is going to want predictability, structure. It wants to know what the fuck is going on. The ego can affect you in many ways through your day. So say somebody cancels on you and you get pissed. You get pissed because that's not what you predicted. Your day starts going off haywire. You planned a perfect day. You're going to have your coffee. You're going to have, your croissant. And I said that's so funny. I think it's so fun to just say random things like that, like in the most obnoxious way. It's like really, it's just so good. Anyways, back to the episode. Yeah, so you have your croissant and you're gonna go and you're gonna get all your work done. It's gonna be a perfect day because you are a productive baddie. Yeah. But your day goes haywire. They don't have the croissants you want at the store. They don't have the kind of coffee you like. And you are not feeling productive. But you said that that's what your day was going to be like. So all these stories, I'm lazy, I can't do anything, just all these stories that come into the mind of, this just proves my story about how I can't show up for myself and that why even try? The ego will perpetuate who you have thought you were. And it happens quick. The moment that things start going wrong and you start getting in your head about who you are, who you have been. I don't know why I thought I could ever make a business. Like, I'm not a businesswoman. I've been an alcoholic. I've been a, lazy piece of crap. Why would those stories are all the identity that you hold on to. And the ego does a really, really good job at helping you with that. So we've talked about patterns, avoiding accountability, the nervous system craving familiarity. And I would like to say that the ego kind of wants the same. The ego is very big on familiarity. It really wants to, you have made an identity and that's where we're staying. It'll help you confirm every belief in order to prove that this is your identity that you have chosen. And that has happened, at some point we choose we're a musician, we are a hard worker. We're really, really giving, no matter what, even if it drains us. We are super hyper independent and we don't need anyone. Yeah. These kinds of stories that get perpetuated. And I think the biggest role that the ego can have are the questions of what if. So, what if I change? Will people still love me? What if I try this new thing? Will I fail? What if I talk to this person? Will I get rejected? What if I break up with them? Will I regret it? Will people judge me? I'll be a failure. Will I be a failure in people's eyes? Stories. The ego wants you to stay where you are. It creates all these stories. What if? It'll really make you believe a lot of things. I'm going to tell you a little bit of my journey with the ego. As someone who made the identity of addiction to chaos, I was wild, I was free, I was independent, and let me tell you what, I still am all those things without as much harmful chaos. So I'm going to tell you a little bit like how it was and how it is now. I would really love people who were avoidant. That naturally was going to cause chaos in my system, right? I wanted the chase. Any sign of somebody actually being interested in me, I was like, oh, God. Like, that's not a game. That's not fun. I need chaos. I also had a really big story that I wasn't a responsible person. I was really messy. And it was all in my feminine. It was the divine feminine, right? Which it is. There's a beauty to the mess, to the just utter chaos within that pure creation. But there's balance, like all things. And there's this part that had this really strong belief that I couldn't get my life together and that I was very messy and that, it just is what it is. That was my story. I had the big story of the identity of being very extroverted, being very out there, even when I was tired, which was complete havoc to my system. I was always running on bare minimum and then drinking caffeine or doing something that was just going to hype me up a little bit more. Not dissing caffeine. I still drink caffeine, but I wasn't doing it in a way that was like thoughtful. I wasn't really thinking about my system and what I actually needed. It was just like, let's keep going. Do, you know? I felt like safe people were boring. Yeah, I just like really, I identified with having chaos around me. And so that's the type of people that I brought in. I also overly identify with the chill, cool girl who was no stranger to pain, has walked in the underworld over and over again, which is true. But is that my identity? No. I feel like I can say that, like, it's a part of me. And so is the mess. And so is a little bit of the chaos. But it doesn't rule my life. It is not who I am. I get to choose who I am. With that, I also attach to my strength. I'm so strong, I can get through anything, which was also an attachment to my pain. Yes, I am strong and I own that. But there was a part of me that was really attaching to the fact that I've been so strong through this life and I have to keep being strong, which honestly started calcifying me because I felt like I had to be strong everywhere, my relationships, my friendships, my work life, all of it. I felt like that was just a way to be a hard shell. But that's what I identified with. And I wouldn't try new things because I was scared. Anyone relate to that one? I mean, I convinced myself of everything else besides being scared of failure. It was, oh no, that just doesn't feel good to me. Or, oh no, why would I even try that? Or, you don't do that, Graciela. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. So let's talk about the concept of ego death. Because you hear all these things, these ways that I shifted. And in the spiritual world, ego death is big. This is a huge buzzword, yeah? And listen, this is my opinion, and this is what I have experienced, is the ego is not meant to die. It's a fundamental part of us. I think spirituality can be a dangerous world where we talk about ego death and we strip ourselves of so much of our parts, and that leaves us susceptible to a lot of different types of leaders, to a lot of rawness. And I think there's a beauty to stripping ourselves down, but I don't think we ever need to fully get rid of the ego. The goal is not to kill the ego. The ego holds ambition and drive, creation, productivity. It builds something so impactful, so important. It is part of driving purpose. Like so many other parts that we've talked about and that we will probably go more into with other ones, is that it is a protector. It is there to protect you. It helps you with boundaries, saying no, self-respect, self-worth, misalignment, all of that, the ego really helps cultivate and look at. And without the ego, a lot of people pleasing and lack of self-worth can happen. So like with everything, and I said this just earlier, there's balance to it all, right? It's also a big part of formation of identity. And although I have been talking about the ways that it gets us stuck in this formation and this concept of identity, It also helps us form who we are. And as time goes on, we can shed those later layers and become even more of who we are in this era. And the ego still helps us with that, even though we're working with the stories it's made. It's a really, really beautiful way to really help you find who you are. The ego is a big part in that. The other one is confidence. Confidence. And I do not mean like egotistical, like, yeah, I'm the shit type of confidence. I mean that kind of confidence where, when someone walks into a room and you can feel the energy shift. You can feel people look at them. I'll just say her, for instance. Look at her. This woman walks into a room and everyone looks at her and she's confident. Just her energy. It doesn't even really matter how she looks. It's an energy. And the ego can really help with that if we foster it in a beautiful way. And this is actually something that I really, we get down to the nitty gritty in sessions with me around this, where you can walk into a room and feel that quote unquote main character energy, whatever it is, while also taking accountability. Because I feel like the ego has been posed as something that is just so, it can be so shadowed. It can be so like something that people deem as bad. And really, the ego is a wonderful tool if we dance with it and we don't let it steal the show. And signs of it stealing the show is need of validation, running at the signs of vulnerability, defensiveness, over-identifying with stories, inability to admit when you're wrong, and constantly staying in victim mode. And I just want to say real quick, if you are listening to this podcast and you're like, I am not a victim, maybe sit with that. Because sometimes when we really are against that thing, we actually might possess that thing. But we can talk a little bit more about that in another episode too. I want you to think of it like this. If you want a one-act show, then the ego can take over all day. But you'll miss the intricacies of having a whole cast. It will be very tiring to have the ego run the whole show. The ego does a good job at being main character, but it is also not always for the best. I also want to say some people maybe need to grow the ego a little bit more. Yeah, like maybe you don't know how to stand up for yourself. Maybe you're having a hard time being confident. Maybe the concept of identity is like questionable because you don't even know who you are. And that is something that I can help you with in sessions. And the link is down below in the show notes. But aside from that, I just want to say, like, all of it is welcome. All of it is okay. Like, these parts are here to work with. They're here to, like, be with and not shun and not suppress. Because why? Why has the ego become such a bad thing? I feel very passionate about this. So we're about to wrap up this session, but I want to leave you with some tools before we do so. This is kind of to help you if you want to try and check the ego, throughout your day, throughout your life, whatever. One is recognizing defensiveness. If you're getting defensive, why? Why are you defensive? What chord is it striking? What's really going on? And it could be valid. The defensiveness could be valid. It could be you wanting to stand up for yourself, but check it. Why? Just ask why first, And also in that, true confidence is being able to maybe have a different side and be collected and actually listen to what's being said and being able to be like firm in what you believe without making someone else wrong. Yeah. Question your stories. So, I could never do that. I am fill in the blank. The list goes on, but those are some examples of stories that might be coming through that you're not even aware of. Yeah. Be willing to be wrong. You may actually learn something if you just are willing to be wrong. Think about all the things that can happen when your defenses come up. You're not actually listening at that point, and you're not actually learning anything. You're just trying to be right. Observe instead of reacting. This one was really hard for me. I'm kind of a reactive person, or I can be. I'm not going to identify with that. Yeah. See? Reframe. But I have been a reactive person, and it's something that I've worked on because I kind of like hearing people out and actually understanding what they're trying to say to me rather than projecting what I think they're trying to say and then throwing a fit about it. Here's where someone may be triggering you. If you're getting triggered by what somebody says, check it. What's actually happening there? Because we'll go into this in different episodes, but a lot of times that trigger means something, and it's something that we can look at rather than making it about the other person. I really love how Michelle Panning on Unfuck Your Relationships podcast goes about this and this concept. And if you guys don't know who that is, I highly recommend. I have really I'm taking a program from her. She's just she's a baddie, and she has a lot of really beautiful knowledge as well. But anyways, we are going to wrap it up, but I want to leave you with this. Sometimes in order to change, you have to be someone your ego doesn't recognize, and your ego will fight you so hard on that until you check it. And like I said, the ego is a blessing, and it can be a curse if we let it run our life. So find that balance, baby, and ride it. It's time we stop shunning. It's time we stop repressing. All our parts are welcome. We can have a conversation with them all. And the ego is just the start. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Mwah.
Thank you for listening to G-Spot, where your truth turns you on. This isn't just something you listen to. It's something you live. So take what landed here and bring it into your next conversation, your next boundary, your next moment of truth. If you're walking this path and want to go deeper, find me on Instagram at Graciela Serena Music. You can find more information on how to work with me below in the show notes. And if this resonated, let it travel. Share, comment. I would love to hear from you. But most of all, remember, your truth isn't too much. Your voice isn't the problem. Stay there, in that place where it's real. I'll see you next time.